Hello and welcome back to the AFL High Performance Podcast. My name is Jack McLean, and today I'm doing a solo episode for Australian rules footballers. This will be designed specifically for AFL, state level, and community based athletes. So it'll give you a good understanding on what areas you need to focus on. We're in the middle portion of the season at the moment, and there's still good opportunity to make some significant gains and give you a competitive advantage not only for your team, but also for your own position in the team. Perhaps you want to go into the senior team, make the state side, or give yourself your best chance to get drafted. Now's the time to get a good advantage against the competition, because it's usually motivations are all time low. So you can make some significant progress and set yourself up for hopefully a strong finals campaign. Now we know footballers, the game's getting faster, so athletes that can generate more force and do it faster than their opponents got a significant advantage of winning the contested ball, but also breaking away from the contest and getting separation from your opponents. So I've got some benchmarks here to get an understanding of where you are as an athlete and what perhaps you need to focus on at this point of the year to get yourself ready for the end of the year where the stakes are higher and the game's only going to get faster and more contested. So when it comes to strength, which we know is important for things like jostling for dominant positions, resisting tackles and making your tackles, so all the contest aspects of the game, do you have at an AFL level would be a minimum of 2 times body weight of your strength, lower body strength exercises. So your squat, whether that be a box squat or a free range squat, or a deadlift, typically a trap bar deadlift. State level strength, you would be at 1.5 to 1.9 times body weight for those lifts, lower body lifts. And then if you're below 1.5, you're probably at that community/development level. Now, these benchmarks are for athletes that have been training in the gym, and you should compare yourself at the minimum your age, if you're listening, of 18 years of age. If you're under 18, don't get too concerned with these numbers. Just keep rocking up, sticking to your routine, having fun, and don't take it too seriously. But for those listening in, they're at an adult age and you're looking to maximize the rest of the year, these are some good benchmarks to see where you sit. So that's lower body strength wise. Upper body, you want to have a 1.3 minimum standard for your bench press. So if you're 100 kilos, that's 130 kilos for one rep. If you're that's an AFL standard. If you're at state level standard, you'd be at 1 times body weight, 1 to 1.2. So 100 kilos, 100 kilo bench up to 120. And development slash community standard would be below 1 times body weight for your upper body bench press. And they're the key lists for strength from a pushing perspective. When it comes to power, so your ability to generate force rapidly. And this is looking at your slow stretch shortening cycle. So a counter movement jump, there's some good data with using force decks, the Vold. And I looked at 2024 data for these and looking at your power to weight ratio. So how much power you're putting into the plates compared to, from a watts perspective, compared to your kilograms. And it looks like 8 times watts per kilogram is a good level. So if you're 100 kilos, you'd be putting in 8,000 newtons into the plates. State level, we're going with below that, so around that 7 to 7.9 times body weight. And then for community level, less than 7. So if you're at that community level, at that state level, and you want to be more explosive, so things like fending opponents off, being able to jump higher, being able to accelerate more efficiently and effectively. These are some things that can help your ability to generate force rapidly. Then when it comes to drop jumps, so how reactive you are. So for things like agility, sprinting, your ability to stop on a dime, your brakes, deceleration, these areas are really important. So using the drop jump and looking at the Vold data, if you had a RSI, reactive strength index, which just compares your jump height to the amount of times you spent on the ground. So a drop jump's typically a 40 centimeter box, jumping on the plates and jumping as high as possible. So how long did you spend on the plate? That's your contact time. And how high did you jump? and you divide that. So if you jump 50 centimeters and you spent 0.2, so 2 milliseconds on the ground, that would be an elite AFL standard RSI, so more than 2.5 RSI. If a state level jumper, that would be below 0.25, and then community, from 2.5 to 2.9, and then community sort of development level would be below 2.5, sorry. And then lastly, from a speed perspective, if you have a max velocity using GPS greater than 9.5 meters per second, you'd be at AFL standard. If you're at 9 to 9.5, you'd be at state level. And then if you're below 9 meters per second, you'd be community development level. So of those, we can put all that together, and that should give you a clear focus on what areas are your strengths. Make sure you maximize those and continue to keep those as your strengths. But what are your deficits? And now's a good opportunity. We know with AFL, you don't go against your weight class like some sports. You don't go against athletes that are same height, same weight as you. You're going against all shapes and sizes. So you need to be able to compete with everyone, and therefore you need to be well-rounded. So perhaps working on your deficiencies, your weaknesses will be the best opportunity for you to showcase your strengths. So here's some examples on how you can go about that, particularly in season, where you're not going to put yourself at risk and put too much fatigue into the system going into your game, because no, we don't want to do that. We want to maximize your development without taking away from your week-to-week performance. So let's say your speed is down. I would recommend doing an acceleration session once a week and a max velocity session, because typically we accelerate. Your first 3 steps are most important. You're going to do that more regularly than opening up and getting big 20, 30 meter efforts on the field. So working on both of those qualities, they'll help each other out. So contrast, typically around 100 meters of acceleration for those starting out, you should be okay with that. Perhaps you want to undershoot, start with like 60 meters. So you might do 6 10-meter reps to start with, for example. And then over the weeks, just add a rep or increase the distance. So you might do 6 12-meter reps, for example, the next week. Or you might do 5 20-meter reps in the coming weeks to 100 meters of volume of acceleration. Important to stay relaxed and contrast that with heavy resistance. So if you do 1 rep with resistance, a green band around your hips, or even better, some chain resistance of around 20% of your body weight, that's going to recruit a high amount of muscle fibers, as well as excite your nervous system. So then when you take off the band and do a rep 10 to 30 seconds later, you should be able to perform at a greater rate and move faster. So they're complementary, as well as we know with AFL, it's a contact sport as well. So practicing short, fast footwork, generating high amount of force with some resistance could transfer into your ability to be able to run through tackles and have that specific special strength. Then when it comes to max velocity, we want to do that once a week. So that's where flying efforts will be great. So having a 20-meter build, which is like a gradual acceleration, explain that like a jet taking off. So it's not a hard accel. We worked on that the other day. It's a gradual acceleration. Find your rhythm, stay relaxed. And then at the 30-meter mark, you're going to hold that speed. So let's say you're building up to 90% max velocity. You get there at the 20-meter mark, and you're going to hold that for another 20 meters. That'd be a good place to start. Any longer than 20 meters, typically, for field-based athletes, is hard to hold from an efficiency point of view and puts you at risk of overstriding and potentially breakdown and injury. So I think having flying efforts of 10 to 20 minutes is probably the sweet spot, and enough exposure to make change. Intensity is key. So you want to be moving at 90-95% effort. If you need more distance to get there, don't increase the flying effort in the middle, increase the acceleration phase. So rather than doing a 20-meter build-up, do a 30-meter build-up. So have longer time to get yourself to that speed. And I would recommend between 2 to 5 reps once a week of that. So that's an acceleration-based session and a max velocity-based session. And do that over the next couple of months and just watch your max velocity pick up. Hopefully you go from that under 9 meters per second to above 9. Or perhaps you're at that state level of 9.4 and you get yourself to that AFL level of 9.5 and above. For drop jump ability, so your reactive strength, look at the data. Then ask the coach, is it your contact time that's letting you down? So perhaps your contact time is 0.3. So you're getting the jump height of, let's say, 45 centimeters, which is a good level, or 50 centimeters, so really high, but you're just spending too long on the plate. So we need to work on your reactive ability. shorter ground contact. So when you're doing all your plyos, you think about hot coals, spend less time on the ground. Within reason, obviously, we don't want to just be too quick that you don't go anywhere. So you still want to be able to project and be able to generate some height, but that's the focus. So from a drill perspective, I'd be prescribing things like skipping. That's a good constraint to ensure that you have short ground contact time, and doing some single leg forward hops. So prescription wise, around 100 reps, so 50 reps each side of single leg skipping. If your coordination allows that, you can do it without the skipping rope as well. But five sets of 10 could be enough exposure to be able to make change, and work on keeping your heel close to ground, flat foot contacts. So you've got a pre-tension in the air and your foot is ready for the ground before you hit it. Then we've got single leg forward hops. So we're going off a box just to challenge your reactivity, off like a 30 centimeter box or whatever your competency allows, and you're going forwards for 5 hops. If height is the issue, so perhaps you've got a good ground contact time of 0.25, but you're just going nowhere, you're not getting enough height. So you need to work on your projection, your ability to generate force. So for that, I'd be focusing on things like depth jumps, where you're jumping off a box and you're landing on a taller box. And we're working on, ideally, let's say you only jump 30 centimeters on the drop jump test. I'd have a 30 centimeter box there and get you to land on that box with the highest hips as possible. So your hips are traveling up distance. You're not just getting on top of the box through range of motion of your hips. So we want to land on that box in a good athletic position, and that's going to ensure quick ground contact time is maintained while generating a little amount of force. And then you can progress that by box height, just like you would with your strength. You progress your strength progressively over the coming weeks. Go from 30 centimeter, 35 in a couple of weeks' time. Once you're maintaining that good competency of movement, progress the box height to 40 centimeters. Then once you got to 40 centimeters, now challenges your reactivity by coming off with that depth jump, that initial box that you start on, progress that height from 30 to 35 to 40. And now you're going from off a 40 centimeter box onto another 40 centimeter box. Do that for enough time, and surely your jump height is going to improve while maintaining contact time. Then from a horizontal point of view, single as well as double leg forward hops over hurdles with high hurdles. So you're generating that force up nice and high. Make sure it's not so high that you sink into the ground for the following hop. It needs to be continuous to be true reactivity. And I would have 4 hurdles out in front of you and start on a box as well. So you're getting that high force to start with for the first jump, and then you just continuously bound over the hurdles. If strength is an issue, do twice a week an extra strength exposure pre-field in the morning if you're training at night. So you want to do it fresh. Typically 5 sets of 3, 4, or 5 reps would be the most amount of volume I would do. Rest at least 3 minutes between sets, and do a minimum of 80% of your 1RM. Or if you haven't done a strength test for a long time and that's not relevant, leave 1 to 2 reps in reserve. So you're not failing, you're not grinding reps out. We know that's going to cause too much fatigue, and as well as it's not going to elicit good adaptation. And we want to make sure the reps are crisp, and just allow the strength to happen by consistently getting an extra 2 strength exposures a week. So, you could do that with both upper body and squat. And don't add a lot of exercises around these sessions. Just simply go in and do your squat and do your bench, maybe a couple of accessory lifts. So the session should only take about 30 minutes. And that's a smart way of doing it in season. So you're not looking to get bigger. You're not looking to put too much work into the system. You're just there with the purpose of getting stronger. If power, so your CMJ was below standard, I would recommend loaded jumps like a squat jump, or Olympic lifting. Great way to develop power if you're competent in that. If you're not competent, you can do hang pulls, and med ball throws. So throwing objects as explosively possible, really important for the nervous system. So those 3 exercises, you could do all 3 of them together. They can complement each other, have good rest in between them, and you get that contrast effect of moving something really explosively. So that's where band assisted jumps can be helpful as well. So you're getting that assisted speed velocity focus. I would do that at the end because power is more focused for you. So I would do like an Olympic lift where you're moving moderate weight explosively. Then I would go to like a loaded jump, and you could do either of those 2 or both, like a squat jump. So maybe only 20% of your 1RM, 30% of your 1RM on the bar. So let's say you squat 100 kilos, have 30 kilos on the bar, and do a squat jump. then a medicine ball throw to work on that power. So maybe a broad jump into a throw, horizontal throw as far as you can. And then the fourth exercise would be a assisted squat jump. So band around the rig, pull that band, so there's heaps of resistance, and then look at jumping as high and as fast as possible. So you're working on the whole force velocity curve from a speed strength perspective. And I would typically not do any more than 3 reps each exercise and ensure that every rep is done with the intent of moving as fast as possible. You do that session twice a week, your counter jump will surely improve in the next month. Hopefully that helps, guys. Give you a bit of guidance, a bit of purpose around this time. Like I said, a lot of the footballers around the country are going to drop off in there, whether it be they'll just go through the motions if they're doing the training, or they're and therefore won't be purposeful and not get the results, or they'll just drop away altogether and stop doing their routine. So I think if you're listening to this, share it with a mate, a teammate. Ultimately, the more teammates you can get on board doing this, you're going to be in a better place physically at the end of the year. And also share it with someone that wants to get drafted, or perhaps is trying in a bit of a slump in their performance and form, and they're looking to break that cycle. Hopefully this gives them a bit of a guide. If you have any questions, or you want an individualized program like some of the advice I've just provided here, you can join our program for free on a 14-day trial, where you'll get access to what this program looks like. You can join us on preparelikeapro.com. It's on the homepage there, free 14-day trial. Or if you want to work with one of our coaches, email me at jack@preparelikeapro.com, or message us on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are on socials, and I'll be sure to book in a call with you and discuss your goals and see if we can help you out. Thanks, guys. All the best for the rest of the season. We'll speak soon.